After 38 years of marriage, raising 3 married children, and cherishing 5 beloved grandchildren, she is now engaging in this absurdity. I have toiled diligently to achieve a state of financial freedom, and now I stand merely 2 years from the horizon of retirement. She asserted that her presence in Arizona was due to a compulsory educators conference, yet I had just dropped her off at the airport, intending to retrieve her on Thursday. A colleague in Las Vegas for a PBR event shared a photo of herself in a casino alongside our family doctor. At this moment, the festive season has arrived, and the children are gathering for the celebration. I eagerly anticipated the adventure of hunting alongside my son and grandsons. I find myself torn between the urge to confront her in this moment and the desire to maintain a facade of normalcy until after Christmas, all to spare the children from any disruption during this festive season. Perhaps by lifting her spirits and feigning normalcy, I might find the opportunity to collect additional proof. It's challenging, yet I wish to shield my children from heartache during this season. A woman graced the church with a solo performance on Sunday, then boarded a flight on Monday to spend the week with the doctor. Throughout our 4 decades together, I have never once doubted her fidelity. I have yet to experience that as well. The sense of security I once believed I possessed appears to have vanished. Fortunately, my parents are not here to see this unfold. Perhaps I shall board a flight tomorrow and seek them out under various aliases. The most exasperating aspect is that both of my brothers have departed, leaving me without anyone to confide in regarding this matter. Perhaps a pastor. Who can say? It's possible that she has a connection with him as well. I've taken a break from work and am now enjoying my time at camp. On Thursday evening, my wife's sister arrived to collect her from the airport. I engaged the services of an attorney and a private investigator suggested by them. I have yet to discuss the Vegas pictures with my wife, and the only ones privy to this information are my lawyers and the Reddit community. My wife believes I'm at the camp, lured by the return of a magnificent buck I've been pursuing for several seasons, now captured once more on my trail cameras. Our exchanges have been light and informal, taking place over the phone and through text messages. She remains blissfully unaware of my inquiries into her journey and existence. Every conversation concludes with the words, "I love you." As is customary, I have adhered to my lawyer's counsel regarding our financial matters. The private investigator has verified that my wife has been involved in an affair with the doctor for more than a year. More details will be revealed in due time. She was absent from the conference in Arizona. Each night unfolded in the vibrant embrace of Vegas. I intend to face her once the private investigator wraps up his inquiry. We are confident that they will come together. As I am away, I plan to afford them plenty of time to accomplish this before my return. I was unaware that the majority of affairs take place within the demographic group aged 55 to 70 years. I believed our marriage was truly strong. She appeared satisfied with our current circumstances, and I felt certain that her affection for me mirrored my own for her. My affection for her knew no bounds. All of it feels incredibly dreamlike. Every day unveils revelations I could never have anticipated. At this juncture, I find myself pondering how many years of my existence have been shrouded in deception and questioning why the life we shared fell short of fulfillment. What was it about me that fell short? What was it about our children and grandchildren that fell short? She possesses a striking beauty. I had always believed it was both internal and external. I have decided to end my marriage with her. The road to reconciliation is nowhere to be found. I'm uncertain about the extent of my devastation. My frustration towards both of them knows no bounds. I shall face the doctor and his wife simultaneously. At this moment, I cannot specify what other endeavors I will undertake today. It seems prudent to approach this journey gradually, with the initial focus on absorbing as much knowledge as possible before the opportunity arises for them to weave their narratives together. He could very well be the most recent addition to the lineage. Here's the latest information. This evening, I shall make my way back home. My 84-year-old mother-in-law, a widow for 12 years, will be devastated by my wife's infidelity. Tomorrow evening, my wife's 3 married sisters, each in enduring unions, will be joining us for Christmas. Ever since my father-in-law's passing, I've taken to grilling steaks for them each Christmas. Should I choose to forgo returning home, it would undoubtedly arouse my wife's suspicions. I contemplated the idea of feigning the flu to remain in place. Yet, ultimately, I've resolved to return home. Failing to address this would impact the strategy for my return, alongside my son and grandsons. I have yet to confront her. Our conversations have been somewhat limited, primarily conducted through messages. I'm confident she remains blissfully unaware at this moment. I have provided the gate and house code to the private investigator. He, accompanied by an IT professional, gained access to her desktop while she was occupied at work. Inexplicably, he has begun receiving her messages through iCloud. Though the intricacies elude me, he managed to achieve it nonetheless. I do not communicate with the PI or lawyer on a daily basis. I remain uncertain about what discoveries he has made up to this point. Next Friday morning, a week from tomorrow, I have a meeting scheduled with him and my attorney. Managing my anger has become increasingly challenging given the knowledge I possess now. I find myself questioning the necessity of my expenditures on the private investigator, yet my attorney insists that I continue to collect evidence until the moment I confront her. I intend to gather the information next week and, with any luck, cease my payments to him. I typically attend camp during the week preceding and following Christmas. She will remain blissfully unaware. If I can manage to contain my emotions when I return home, I plan to depart once more on Sunday. In the week leading up to Christmas, my son and grandsons are set to embark on their annual hunting tradition. It has been nearly 2 weeks since I last laid eyes on her. Never did I foresee that my affection for her could metamorphose into such profound hatred and disdain. I intend to conclude the gathering of evidence next Friday, following the Christmas lunch. We shall gather to unwrap presents alongside our children and grandchildren. I will allow her to unveil hers last, request that she shares it with our children, take her phone, and then depart. My next destination is the doctor's residence, where I shall present the evidence to his wife and family, followed by initiating divorce proceedings on the basis of infidelity. Revision. I returned from the camp last Thursday evening, and she was there waiting for me. Exhausted from sleepless nights, our exchange was succinct. On Friday evening, we hosted a festive Christmas gathering at our home, welcoming her mother and 3 sisters into the warmth of our celebration. I successfully executed my plan without raising her suspicions. After a day spent away on Saturday, I returned to my camp following the church service on Sunday. On Sunday night, my son and grandson came to join me there. After a week of relentless pursuit, I find myself back in the comfort of home. Tomorrow holds no plans for us. This Sunday, our children and grandchildren will join us for church, followed by a delightful Christmas lunch and the exchange of gifts at our home. In the midst of this challenging ordeal, I have managed to astonish those around me by maintaining a steady grip on my emotions. I have reflected on the manner in which I will disclose her infidelity. I shall not address her on Christmas. I have arranged a meeting with my attorney for Tuesday morning. I intend to compile all the evidence that he and the investigator have amassed, in addition to the divorce papers he has meticulously prepared. I would like to invite my son and 2 daughters to our home for a family meeting on Tuesday night, where we will address her affair and confront the situation directly. At this juncture, I find myself uncertain about how I will approach the doctor and his spouse. My intention is to undermine his reputation and career by employing every tactic at my disposal. We navigated through Christmas surrounded by my children, grandchildren, and in-laws. On Monday morning, I engaged in a conversation with my pastor regarding the situation at hand. He orchestrated a meeting between myself and the wife of the affair, partner. On Monday night, we resolved to confront our spouses, compelling them to pen detailed letters regarding the affair. I had my wife compose the letter, not allowing her to elaborate on anything to me. I informed her that I was aware of her presence in Vegas and the company she was keeping. I directed her to encompass every detail, emphasizing that if any discrepancies arose with the evidence I possessed, reconciliation would be out of the question. On Tuesday morning, I convened with my attorney, gathered the assembled evidence, and absorbed valuable counsel. In the afternoon, I confronted the employer of my affair partner, insisting on his dismissal. Today, he received his termination notice. On Tuesday evening, my children arrived, and their mother revealed her truth to them. They are taken aback and deeply wounded. My wife took our daughter home and remains there still. I am contemplating my next step. The prospect of reconciliation appears dim. Once I gain clarity about my own marriage, I will determine the course of action regarding the affair partner. She confessed all and addressed each particular detail I inquired about in her letter. Update. Did I inquire of her the reason why? Indeed, I inquired about the reason. She found herself at a loss for words. She confided in me and our children that she felt a sense of independence, fully aware that she was jeopardizing her life, yet found herself unable to change course. She conveyed to our children that they ought not to suffer disappointment or humiliation because of their mother's questionable choices, asserting that they were unworthy of the stigma associated with a woman of ill repute. I hesitate to divulge everything she expressed, as I find myself questioning the veracity of her words. What was her demeanor like? She is utterly broken, filled with regret, and desperately seeking forgiveness from both me and the children. She understands the weight of her choices. What was the response of my children? One spoke to her, and the other two nodded in agreement. It would have been simpler to lay you to rest than to confront this predicament. Should I continue in this marriage? Indeed, I do. I have always remained faithful to my wife. Have I encountered the spouse of the affair partner and shared this information with her? Indeed, our paths have crossed on 2 occasions, and we've exchanged words through both phone calls and text messages numerous times. Is it not a sign of my concern for his family that I chose to have him dismissed? My concern lies primarily with the wife of the next patient. His behavior is quite unsuitable for 7 a.m. I am contemplating the possibility of ending my marriage with her. I find myself uncertain. Have I pursued therapy? At this moment, no. I desire for this to vanish. If you happen to know someone capable of facilitating that, I'm willing to engage in therapy. Each circumstance possesses its own distinct elements, characters, and intricacies. In another chapter of my life, I might have approached it with a different perspective. Each subtle detail I encounter has become a profound wellspring of resilience. A certain Redditor has emerged as a wellspring of wisdom, knowledge, and encouragement. His assistance has been beyond what words can convey in terms of gratitude. I hardly had the opportunity to enjoy meaningful moments with my wife. She is absent. What brings her to my daughter's instead of my in-laws' place? Her father has passed away, and her mother is 84 years old. I wish to spare her mother from having to confront this situation. She is at the home of my baby daughter and her husband. They are yet to have children, and the possibility of her swaying any of my future children against me is non-existent. This holds particularly true for this spirited young one, a decade younger than her sister and 12 years her brother's junior. She shared countless hours in a deer stand, bay boat, and office truck alongside me. She won't allow her to speak any harsh truths about me, much less any fabrications. Update weekend plans. I had a brother who was 14 years my junior. He was a college professor residing 8.5 hours from our hometown. Regrettably, he lost his life in a motorcycle accident in 2017. A daughter, now 24, remains in his wake, married and living in a state far removed from her mother. Yet, she has returned home with her newborn to introduce them to her mother and in-laws. My sister-in-law remains unmarried. Last night, I reached out to my sister-in-law to inquire about when my niece would be returning home. It appears that she is spending this week with her husband's parents, located roughly 40 minutes away from my sister-in-law. feeling overwhelmed by my children, I've made the choice to embark on a road trip. I am looking forward to meeting my great-nephew, who carries the names of both my brother and myself. I will be arriving later this evening. I requested that she book a hotel room, yet she firmly replied, "There's no way in hell that's happening. You shall remain here, and together we shall indulge in cinematic delights while savoring ice cream. I'm uncertain about my return." It has been since Tuesday night that I last spoke to or saw my wife. I severed the connection by blocking her number. I reached out to my son to share my whereabouts, requesting that he head to the office to secure a rental property that belongs to my company. The house has been thoughtfully renovated and is now on the market. I advised him to inform his mother to gather what she requires from our home and transition into the rental. She ought to remit rent to my son, who will subsequently settle with my company. A new keypad is set to be installed on the gate and doors of my house this Wednesday, so she must retrieve her belongings now. Just wanted to share that my weekend was quite enjoyable. I reached out to my sister-in-law to inform her that I would be visiting solo to see my niece and her newborn. She inquired about my wife's absence, and I simply replied that there are some matters at hand, and I would inform her upon my arrival. Arriving around midnight, I found her pulling a hot pound cake from the oven. Truly the finest thing I've tasted in weeks. I recounted every intricate detail of my saga to her. I felt the sting of tears a few times, but as I journeyed through it alongside her, I succumbed to my emotions and wept openly. She offered unwavering support, shedding tears alongside me, gently soothing my wounded pride. And I suppose I found solace in our conversation. I retired for the night at approximately 3 o'clock yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, she prepared bacon and eggs for breakfast, and as I savored the meal, she informed me that while I might set the rules and take charge at home, her house operated under a different set of guidelines. She then went on to share my schedule with me. At 1 o'clock, I had a long-awaited haircut appointment, overdue since everything unfolded, followed by a trip to Dillard's to find clothes that would suit me. I have shed more than 30 pounds in just 3 weeks. Following the haircut, we made our way to a friend's house for an evening filled with a bonfire and fireworks last night. Today, I accompanied her to church, and later in the afternoon, she was visiting her parents. This evening, she is preparing supper, eagerly anticipating the arrival of her daughter and son-in-law for a delightful meal and cherished conversation. Tomorrow, I will accompany her son-in-law on a deer hunting expedition across an expansive 8,000-acre timber co-lease of which he is a member. He has the entire week free, and if I choose, I can remain and pursue my hunting endeavors throughout the week. She will launder my garments and provide me with sustenance. Our discussions of my troubles will be paused until my departure for home. Thus I followed the instructions given to me. As we made our way to her usual salon, she turned to me and declared, "I'm going to use you to have some fun." As I present you, I will share your first and middle name with them. I inquired of her, "What on earth is happening?" She chuckled softly and replied, "Just go with the flow. I shall provide these witches with ample fodder for their whispers. My middle name carries the legacy of my mother's maiden name." That was her way of introducing me to her hairstylist. As I sat in the chair for my haircut, she inquired about my origins, to which I replied, "Detroit." My accent simply doesn't lend itself to the notion of being from Detroit. My sister-in-law, ever quick on her feet, replied, "He's a logger." Our journey continues at Dillard's. It has been years since I last indulged in shopping. I found myself purchasing 3 new pairs of pants, 4 shirts, 2 pairs of shoes, a tie, and astonishingly, a $75 tie along with a heart-shaped mark suit. She claims it's the only suit my brother would don. It came as a surprise to me just how discerning he was regarding his attire. I have also acquired a new belt. The suit required hemming, and she skillfully persuaded them to attend to it as we lingered there. As we made our way home, she casually informed me that I would be her date for the church party, and so I became. She instructed me to gaze at her as I would at a freshly polished pistol, hoping it would entice them to make a purchase. I accompanied her, save for the party. Originating from Atlanta, I found myself in the business of selling road graders, and my journey through love has led me to experience marriage and divorce 4 times. This morning at church, we arrived late and departed early, as she feared the wrath of lightning for any deception within those sacred walls. She positioned herself closely beside me, grasped my hand, and together we stepped outside. I've thoroughly enjoyed the experience of resembling a pair of comedic characters alongside my 46-year-old sister-in-law. She has been cutting up the entire time, and I have found myself laughing, truly laughing. It has been 3 weeks since I last engaged in that activity. I plan to embark on a hunting expedition tomorrow, potentially extending my stay until Wednesday. However, I must return to work on Friday. I have engaged in conversation with my son on a few occasions. He believes they should seek out some medical assistance for her. She seems to say little and spends the majority of her time in her bedroom at my daughter's house. Her phone has run out of battery, and he, along with my other daughter, relay messages to her via my youngest. The wife of the affair partner unleashed a lengthy message, branding her with every name imaginable, save for a child of God. I have not engaged in conversation with my wife. She inquired about my whereabouts and conveyed to my daughter that forgiveness would forever elude me, acknowledging that she bore no resentment towards my inability to forgive. My son remarked that she appears to be nearing the end of her journey. Reconciliation remains elusive in my view. Nevertheless, I will refrain from initiating divorce proceedings until I am entirely certain. There are those who have suggested both divorce and reconciliation. Should I reconsider? It appears to be a squander of time, energy, and resources. When I choose to end my marriage, it will be irrevocable. I have no intention of pursuing legal action against my affair partner if I choose not to divorce. Should I proceed with the divorce, I intend to pursue legal action against him to cover the costs of the settlement that would otherwise be incurred. I have no desire for his wealth. I have accepted the reality that this situation is far from over and that my existence will forever be altered. Revision. My wife is currently in the hospital. Yesterday morning, I took my daughter to the ER due to dehydration. Tests indicated that her kidney function was abnormal, and she exhibited signs of confusion, which resulted in her admission. They initiated her treatment with a drip, and today, further laboratory tests will be carried out. A psychological evaluation has been requested, and it is expected that her hospitalization will extend throughout the majority of the week. My son conveyed the news of her hospitalization to her sisters, noting that I was away from town. To the best of my knowledge, her sisters and mother remain oblivious to her affair. This weekend, I intend to have a conversation with her mother and eldest sister. Looking back, I realize I ought to have taken care of this last Friday before my departure. I find myself still at my sister-in-law's residence. Yesterday, I ventured into the wild for a hunt, but today the rain falls steadily, prompting me to stay indoors this morning. Last night's dinner featured a sumptuous spread of fried steak, creamy mashed potatoes smothered in rich gravy, warm homemade biscuits, delightful apple cobbler, and a scoop of ice cream to top it all off. This morning, my sister-in-law has a handful of tasks to complete, yet she has asked me to be dressed and prepared for our ramble upon her return. I find myself feeling a sense of gratitude for being present in this moment. At this moment, the thought of engaging with my friends feels uninviting, and the prospect of being at work lacks allure. With my laptop and phone at hand, alongside a steadfast coworker who has been by my side for 25 years, the wheels of business continue to turn smoothly. He is aware of the affair, as he was the one who informed me about the Vegas trip. I reached out to her sister, offering a concise overview of the situation and the events that culminated in my wife's hospitalization. She was truly taken aback, filled with remorse, and brimming with compassion. Tomorrow, my mother-in-law embarks on a journey alongside 3 other widows, her cherished companions. My daughters, who humorously refer to themselves as the BHH gang, blue-haired hoe, take great pleasure in embarking on bus tours. She mentioned that she wouldn't disclose the affair or the psychological evaluation, only that my wife's condition appeared not severe enough to warrant me shortening my trips. She remarked that I appeared lost in thought and seemed troubled as they departed from my home. The sisters will lend their support to my daughters and daughter-in-law throughout the hospital stay, with one of them taking her home until she is ready to transition back from our house. I reached out to my youngest daughter, instructing her to swing by the office to collect a check, cash it, purchase a card, and deliver it to her grandmother's house. At the office, I possess a name stamp that she can use to sign the card, adding a note wishing her an enjoyable trip and expressing my love for her. There is an update concerning my wife's health. Her kidney function has demonstrated improvement. Nevertheless, following a psychiatric assessment, it has been determined that she has undergone a psychotic break. She finds herself in a haze, convinced that we have met with a tragic car accident, and that I am no longer alive. She is in turmoil, grappling with the notion that my funeral may have occurred in her absence, and her emotions are spilling forth in a manner that is challenging to decipher. This evening, she was moved to a facility renowned for its expertise in mental trauma, with hopes for a complete recovery in the days or weeks ahead. Nevertheless, she is required to refrain from any contact with others for the upcoming 10 days. My middle daughter will serve as the family liaison for afternoon updates until she is able to receive visitors. This predicament is both astonishing and entirely avoidable. I remain at Sparky's residence, where she has scheduled a 9:30 a.m. appointment with a psychiatrist she consulted for 2 years, following the heartbreaking loss of my brother. After my shower, as I slipped into my pajamas to head back downstairs, it struck me that all my perfectly good white Fruit of the Loom boxer shorts had vanished. Boxer briefs from Duluth Trading Company now took their place, adorned with a band proclaiming, "Go Buck Undressed." The palette features shades of red, black, neon blue, maroon, along with dark and light gray. When I inquired about it, she wittily remarked that the 60s had reached out, requesting the return of those hideous drawers. She remarked that the boys require a moment to catch their breath. Update. I returned home on Thursday night after visiting a psychologist recommended by my sister-in-law, who had sought her help following my brother's passing. The meeting unfolded poorly. In all honesty, the counselor had a point. My enthusiasm for attending was lacking, and I was filled with a considerable amount of anger at that moment. Delving into the particulars of my wife's infidelity filled me with a profound sense of unease. On Friday, I found myself obliged to participate in a work meeting concerning a contract addendum that required both my presence and my signature on a revised agreement. In the afternoon, I gathered with my children to share the latest on their mother's condition. The clinician requested that we provide a plan for her discharge, and I remained resolute in my belief that returning home was not an option. Instead, she should transition to a rental property. The status report from today revealed promising advancements made over the weekend. Family sessions with her are also on the agenda, potentially starting as soon as the end of this week. I communicated to my children that I would not be participating in any family sessions. I made it clear that her recovery was not my burden to bear, and I would not involve myself in it. Though there may be differing opinions, I stand firm in my position. Nonetheless, I have made a commitment to refrain from initiating divorce proceedings for the next 6 months. On Sunday, I found myself at church, nestled in our familiar seat that we've occupied for nearly 4 decades. The absence of the affair partner's family was palpable, and I found no inclination to inquire with my pastor about them, as their presence held no significance for me. This afternoon, I had a meeting with a psychologist suggested by my pastor. The meeting proved to be quite fruitful for me. At the age of 74, he finds himself engaged in part-time work from an office nestled behind his home. He delineated the objectives he wished to accomplish alongside me, and I consented to adhere to the prescribed steps. There is a sense of ease between us, and I have consented to our weekly meetings. A representative from the State Medical Board Examiner's office is scheduled to visit my office on Wednesday morning. This comes in response to a grievance lodged by the attorney against the individual involved in the affair. I must prepare to provide a sworn deposition regarding the affair. Each step I take is tinged with resentment, a heavy reminder of her betrayal. Though I don't believe she is feigning a mental breakdown, I struggle to muster any sympathy. Revision. My wife continues her treatment, dedicated to remaining there for a full 30 days. She is making progress, yet my children concur that she requires additional in-house care. Since December 27th, I have not had any direct communication with her. In order to manage the expenses, she tapped into her retirement savings. I have yet to engage in a meaningful conversation with my mother-in-law. She and her daughters have paid a visit to my wife. I sent her a message, letting her know that I would speak when I was prepared. She has reached out to inquire about my well-being on several occasions. Though she feels sorrow, her strength endures. No updates have emerged regarding the affair. Partner, yet his residence is currently on the market. I find myself uncertain about whether they have parted ways or remain united. I have participated in counseling on 2 occasions and find myself genuinely anticipating my meeting on Monday. It has proven to be advantageous for me. The affair has become the subject of much speculation and chatter. Even in the face of deep embarrassment over her actions, I persist in attending church, maintaining my composure and dignity. My children and grandchildren are thriving. Staying engaged with my work and overseeing my son's re-election campaign has provided me with a fulfilling sense of purpose. Recently, I've observed a greater number of captivating women than I ever have before. I find myself uncertain about its nature, yet it has certainly captured my attention more than before. I think that encompasses all aspects. Revision. On Tuesday, my wife departed from the hospital and made her way to a rental property that belongs to my company. Though it is an older house, it has experienced a thorough renovation from the very stud walls. It has been quite some time since our last conversation on December 27th. She crafted 2 letters, filled with regret and a longing for my forgiveness. I have not responded, aside from informing my children that I have read their messages and will connect when I feel prepared to talk about both the past and the future. A woman has dedicated over 20 years of her life as a housekeeper for my wife. Under the careful direction of my daughter and the housekeeper, I welcomed individuals into my home to relocate a bedroom suite and various necessities, all in the pursuit of crafting a cozy haven for my wife. New furniture has been acquired, and preparations for her return from the hospital have been in place for more than a week. She made arrangements to engage the housekeeper daily for as long as necessary, ensuring that a driver and sitter were available for the nights her sister stayed, as long as needed. On Tuesday night, I shared a meal with my mother-in-law at her residence, where I took the opportunity to articulate my perspective. She demonstrated remarkable understanding and conveyed her unwavering support for me. My son shared that his grandmother paid a visit to his mother last night, and her demeanor was less than sympathetic. It seems she was quite unreserved in her words to my wife, showing little regard for her feelings. This marked the inaugural moment they broached the subject of my wife's treachery. I shall be visiting Sparky's tomorrow. She possesses tickets for a concert this coming Saturday evening. At first, she planned to go with a friend, but the friend is unable to attend because of a co-worker's funeral on Saturday. Tomorrow afternoon, we shall embark on a journey to North Carolina, returning on Sunday afternoon. I eagerly anticipate a new experience, and I hope it brings me joy. I find myself truly appreciating the counseling experience and eagerly anticipate our weekly sessions. It appears to assist me in organizing the various facets of my existence.